Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. I am your little darling narrator, and on this channel, I read stories. Not just any stories, but I think I read some really great stories for the young readers. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, I strongly recommend you go ahead and you subscribe, because all we do here are read good stories for the young readers. And if there's any story that you like, don't forget, hit that like button. That just helps this channel, and we appreciate all the support that we've been getting. So stay tuned. The name of this story is called The Berenstain Bears No Girls Allowed by Stan and Jan Berenstain. And this was a request by Jackson Weber. Thank you so much for the request, Jackson. Enjoy. Ever since Sister Bear had been a teeny cub, she liked to tag along and play with Brother Bear and his friends. It was a bit of a nuisance because she slowed their running, "Wait for me!" interfered with their climbing, "Not so high!" and messed up their marble games. Oh, that slipped. But as she grew older, things changed. She still liked to tag along with her older brother and his friends, and it was no longer a bit of a nuisance. It was a big nuisance. She got to be a fast runner and outran brother and his friends. "Look at her go," said Papa. She got to be a good climber and outclimbed them. "Oh dear," said Mama. "I do wish she'd be more careful." And she won all their marbles. "Goodness, I hope they're not playing for keeps," said Mama. "It certainly is good to see sister and brother and their friends playing so nicely together," said Papa. "Look, they're organizing a baseball game." "Yes," said Mama, "but it does worry me just a little that sister is the only girl in the group." "Now, Mama," said Papa, "it's not whether you're a he or a she that counts. It's how you play the game. Look, she just hit a home run." "I agree," said Mama. "But think back. How would you have liked it when you were a cub if some little girl could outrun, outclimb, and outhit you?" Papa thought for a moment. "I wouldn't have liked it," he said. Brother and his friends didn't like losing either. And what made it worse was the way Sister celebrated every time she won. Her victory dance and cartwheels were annoying, but it was the war whoops that really got on everybody's nerves. Then one day, when Sister was planning to tag along as usual, her playmates were nowhere to be seen. No matter, she thought, and went about her business. She picked wildflowers for Mama and jumped rope with some butterflies. When there were no cubs around the next day, she was puzzled. But there was plenty to do. She had a tea party for her dolls and read some books. But on the third day, she began to wonder what was going on. "Where are those cubs?" she said aloud. They weren't in the old climbing tree. They weren't playing marbles, and they certainly weren't on the baseball field. As she stood on the desert field, wondering where everybody was, she heard voices. They sounded like cubs' voices, and they were coming from the thicket. She followed the sound into the thicket. What were those cubs up to? When she reached the edge of Frog Pond, she found out. What they were up to was building a secret clubhouse on Berry Bush Island in the middle of Frog Pond. It had peepholes, watchtowers, and a little bridge. It was almost like a castle. What a wonderful surprise! "Hi, gang!" she shouted. She was so excited that she did her celebration dance, complete with cartwheels and war whoops. But Brother and the other boys didn't answer Sister's happy cry. Instead, they ducked inside, then reached out and put the finishing touch on their new clubhouse. A sign that said, "Bear Country Boys Club, no girls allowed." As Sister stood there trying to think what to do next, there was a creaking sound. The bridge was a drawbridge, and they were cranking it up. She was heartbroken. "It isn't fair," she wailed as she ran home from the thicket.
"You're absolutely right," roared Papa. "It isn't fair. Come, we're going back there and make them take you into their city club. And if they don't, I'm going to tear that clubhouse limb from limb."
But Mama stopped them. "I don't think that's the answer," she said. "Those boys are being very unfair. Sometimes boys act that way. So do girls. But whoever does it is wrong. The important thing is not whether you are a boy or a girl, but the sort of person you are. And be that as it may, you can't make cubs want to play with you." "No," said Sister, "but I can tear them limb from limb. Come on, Papa." "Wouldn't it be a better idea," suggested Mama, "for you to form your own club and build a secret clubhouse of your own?" "Could I?" said Sister.
"This old climbing tree might be a good spot for it," said Papa, "and I'll help."
"Terrific," said Sister. "The first thing we'll need is a big sign that says, 'No boys allowed.'" "No," said Mama. "The first thing you need for a club is members." That part turned out to be easy. News of No Girls Allowed Club traveled fast, and there were quite a few other sisters who didn't like the idea of being left out. They had a lot of good ideas. Lizzie made a rope ladder that they would wind up when they didn't want visitors. Ellen brought a spyglass for keeping watch, and Marcia had the best idea of all, a tin can phone system. With Papa's help, they built a very fine clubhouse high in the old climbing tree. "Now for that sign," said Sister. "Those boys were just being mean because I out-hit them and won all their marbles. They're bad losers." "I suppose that's true," agreed Mama. "But, there's such a thing as a bad winner too. Someone who makes a big braggy show every time she wins." Sister Bear knew exactly what Mama was talking about. "But it still isn't fair," Sister said. "Well," said Mama, "I think we can work things out. But first, we have to celebrate the opening of this very special clubhouse with some very special refreshments: barbecued honeycomb and salmon. Now, if there's anything cubs are crazy about, it's barbecued honeycomb and salmon, girl cubs, and boy cubs. So Papa loaded up the barbecue. The yummy smell reached into the thicket and floated right under the noses of the members of the Bear Country Boys Club, who followed their noses back to where the members of the Bear Country Girls Club was just pulling up their rope ladder. "Something sure smells good," said Brother, speaking into the phone. The girls took a vote and decided to invite the boys up for honeycomb and salmon. "How would you like to come back to our place for dessert?" said Brother. "Our berry crop is ripe for picking." "Love to," said Sister, and while the whole gang headed for Frog Pond, Brother ran ahead and quickly changed the clubhouse sign to say, "Bear Country Boys Club, Girls Welcome." The berries were delicious. Well, that ends our story. And we had a great story yet again. The Berenstain Bears never disappoint. Now, we have a lot of takeaways, but the one that I'm going to really talk about is, of course, anytime you try to limit anybody, be it boys, girls, what have you, there's going to be problems. And there's going to be people that are not going to like it. You see how Sister felt. Sister was so happy to finally find the boys because at one time they were playing and one day they just up and disappeared. And she let that go for a couple of days. And then there was a day she decided she's going to get to the bottom of it. And she did. And when she saw what they had done, built a clubhouse, she was ecstatic. She was so happy. She did her happy dance. She whooped and all that kind of stuff. And that is what the boys did not like. And that is what she did. So they simply drew up their little drawbridge to their clubhouse that she discovered. And she realized what had happened, that they were excluding her. And that broke her heart. And when she went home and told her parents, her dad was ready to go out there and give them what for and whatnot. But Mama, who always has good sense, talked them down, which I have to admit was something that was needed. And just told her, the best way to fight fire sometimes is with fire. So if they've got a clubhouse, why don't you build you a clubhouse? Get you some members. Do what he's doing. And what happened when she did? And Mama Bear and Papa Bear knew if, they give them refreshments, make sure it's that good stuff that, smells from distances away, that somehow, some way, the boys and the girls club would somehow, some way get together. And they did. Now, that was what was able to bridge that gap. But let's just talk a little bit about what made the gap. Remember, when Sister Bear was playing with them, when she began to play with them, she was really, really young. And she didn't have the abilities, to be able to keep up with them. But as she grew, not only did she keep up with them, she surpassed them, which means she was able to do better than them in all the games. And that's what rubbed them the wrong way. So the thing that they thought they could do was just eliminate her from the games, and maybe they would feel better when they played the games and would start to win among themselves again. But no, that's not how you do it. And they learned. So we ended up with an all's well that ends well situation. And until next time, my young readers, I am your little darling narrator, out.